Hey guys, welcome back to Tamiya Legends, and once again, thank you for stopping by. So, a little trip down memory lane this video, a little bit of nostalgia, and more than anything, just appreciation for the Tamiya timeline from 1987 through to 1989. 3 big years for Tamiya. So I've dug 3 of those cars out. Now it just so happens, or the cars I've dug out are what I feel are very important within that timeline. Now, just before I get started, remember this is just my opinions. Anything I say is not set in stone, it's not gospel, it's just my opinions on how I feel about the Tamiya range. You may disagree, put it in the comments, you know, that's what it's all about. This hobby is all about opinions. So we have the Tamiya Thundershot from 1987, Tamiya Avante from 1988, and of course the Tamiya Egress from 1989. What a time period this was. Before we get into this, what the purpose of this video is, I've made a note of the cars built from and including the Thundershot all the way through. So that's the cars including the Thundershot from 87 through to 89, and then finishing with the Egress. Just listen to this list of cars. So obviously first up, 87 Thundershot. Next was the Lotus Honda 99T F1, followed by the Williams FW11B Honda F1, followed by Midnight Pumpkin, Sonic Fighter, then the Avante 88. Then the Thunder Dragon, Grasshopper 2, Terra Scorcher, Vanquish. Now, Vanquish will get mentioned again in this video because it played a very important part, and you may well disagree on what I'm going to say about it. After Vanquish, Mud Blaster, Fire Dragon, and then through on 89 to the Egress. What a ridiculously busy period. I know that's why we call it the golden era of RC. You know, that's how many cars is that? 13 cars in that 3-year period, which is just amazing. And then if you're obviously a general RC enthusiast, you add on all the Kyosho cars and other brands. It was just such a fantastic time to be into RC. Anyway, as I say, I've picked these 3 particular cars because for me, the game changers. And I'm just going to go through why, in my humble opinion, I feel that way. I'll go through these cars and then we'll bring the camera over and we'll take the tops off them and that, so we can have a better look at them. But 87 Thundershot, being well documented on here, it was the first ever Tamiya car I bought brand new and built. Had other cars before that, but they were absolute wrecks, made with balsa wood, fixed with balsa wood and epoxy resin and bolts and metal brackets. They were pretty messed up. So that was my first one. Now the Thundershot in 87 came out, I mean, it was an all singing, all dancing new chassis, and it was there to take over from the Hot Shot and Boomerang family. Now in my opinion, this Thundershot is way better than any Hot Shot and Boomerang, Super Sabre as well, and Bigwig you could throw into that as well. You know, it was just a better chassis. It was just more modern, gearbox is bulletproof, had this futuristic looks, even with the monoshock. The suspension was absolutely awesome on it. So it was a real step up for Tamiya, in my opinion, from what had gone previously. Then obviously a year later the Avante came out. Now, if you're a Tamiya fan, I'm not going to tell you all the details about the Avante because you'll know them, and I've done many videos on the Avante. But briefly, it was an absolute game changer for Tamiya in 88. They threw the kitchen sink at this car to make it race ready and went way overboard what they needed to do. But still today, it's probably, for me, it is the sexiest. Well, is it sexiest? I said the Marui Ninja was. It's 100% my favourite vintage RC car of all time, including all manufacturers. It is just absolutely gorgeous. The engineering on it from this style that Tamiya were producing is just mind-blowing. So that's more of a game changer in the sense that what followed that, I guess. Now, we're not talking about back then when the TRF didn't exist, but Tamiya was still, although it wasn't called TRF, they were still doing the racing scene and developing. But we're going to leave those cars out of it. These are just, I'm talking about the production cars that Joe Bloggs could buy. So this is where we talk about the Vanquish now. So the Vanquish, I've not wrote the dates down. Now, here's what you might disagree on. It gets bandied around that the Vanquish is a poor man's Avante. I 100% disagree with that, and I've said that many times as well on this channel. I understand why people think it was a poor man's Avante, but it couldn't be further from the truth, in my opinion. It's a completely different car to the Avante. It was much more thought about. It's a car. The Vanquish was a car in its own right. And here's a bold statement I'm going to make. You take the Avante and the Vanquish to a track on the same day, same driver, same conditions. That Vanquish will go around that track quicker than the Avante did. 100%. It's got way better geometry, extra wheelbase, tyres. The whole design of the car was just better, simpler. But it wasn't supposed to be the poor man's Avante. I just think that's wrong. Stick in the comments if you think I'm wrong by that. But yeah, I just don't get it. But anyway, the Vanquish obviously played a massive part then, because they made the improvements from the Avante, but then from the Vanquish came the Egress in '89. And what a thing that is. Some say that's the best production build race car that Tamiya ever did. Now, I don't know about the racing scene. I did race back in the day, but this was my level. But I know I got a lot of you guys who did race sort of properly. I'm not talking about professionally, just you knew what you were doing. The Egresses, was pretty superb, given the style of tracks that there were back then. The tracks back then were nothing like the tracks today. So yeah, the Egress, such a special, cool car. Now, this particular one is, I've had many Egresses over the years, but that's the first one I've ever run properly. And yeah, it is absolutely superb. And I've drove it, flat tarmac, gravel. I've done jumps with it. I've taken it to the Tamiya Legends Arena. Just can't fault the thing. It's superb. Up until I got this running, the Top Force was my favourite car for running that I'd had on the channel to date. But this Egress is better than the Top Force in my opinion, which is pretty crazy given that the Top Force came out way after the, well, not way after, but the development was after the Egress. But I think it's only right to talk about the Manta Ray quickly when we're talking about the evolution of Tamiya cars. The Manta Ray was the first DF01 chassis. That played a huge part in development, because from the Manta Ray, Tamiya then developed a Top Force, and from the Top Force, which was Tamiya's 100th RC car, came the Top Force Evolution, which many people say is the best production available Tamiya race car, vintage race car. Again, I don't have a dog in that fight. I wouldn't have a clue. I've run a Top Force. I've never run an Evo. And Evos are way different from a standard Top Force, race-wise. Maybe one day we'll get one. You never know. But yeah, in the comments, I'd be really interested if you were sort of lucky enough back in the day to actually race. And you were doing it around about the time where you were lucky enough to be racing Egresses and then the Top Force Evo. Is the Top Force Evo the best production available Tamiya race car? I don't know, no idea. I really hope someone watching can give me some answers on that and tell me, if it is, why it was better than the Egress. I'm itching to know. I'm a bit nerdy like that. So yeah, that's why. I just think these three cars were game changers in their own right, and these two are particularly known as Tamiya royalty with the vintage on the vintage scene, and you can see why they're absolutely superb. But yeah, I think we need to just give a little bit of a nod of the hat to the Thundershot, because that was a massive step up for Tamiya in my opinion in design, and just an epic buggy. And well, you can take any of these out today. I'm going to say something a little bit more controversial. This year on the channel, again, I've had quite a few different Avantes on the channel, But this year I've run Avantis, this one particular, not this one, sorry, this is an original, but the 2011. I ran it pretty hard. Again, flat tarmac, off-road gravel jumps, then to the Tamiya Legends Arena. I would go as far to say that this Thundershot, performance-wise, is not a million miles away from the Avante. Is that controversial? I don't know. Obviously, the Avante can be fully adjusted, where the Thundershot couldn't be. That you would have to. What would be interesting, if you know the Thundershot family, the Terra Scorcher was the full spec version of the Thundershot. It was I'm going to say it was a fourth car out of the family, but I'm not 100% if it was fourth. But that came fully ball raced and adjustable turnbuckles and front universal joints. It was full spec at that. But I would be really interested if what your opinions would be on. And unfortunately, we can't use a Thundershot, but we'll use a Terra Scorcher running on, again, same driver, same track, same conditions against an Avante. Would the would the Terra Scorcher be quicker? I don't know. I think it might be, you know. This car takes a lot of setting up, and you've really got to know what you're doing with it to get the best out of it. And it's squirrely, to say the least. Whereas when you're running these things, they're pretty planted. Again, just my opinion, but it's an interesting question. Right, what we'll do now is we'll just whiz the tops off, just to have an appreciation of the different chassis designs. So, three incredibly different looking cars. Again, Thundershot, one of my all-time favourites, just in looks alone. I just think it's absolutely superb. It's a really, really good looking car, and probably can't see it from here, but from that angle there, it is epic. Absolutely love it. The Avante, well, we all know the Avante. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And the Avante is one of those cars, from any angle, it's gorgeous. Even turned it over and just the under tray on it, it's just absolutely stunning. That is a thing of beauty. And then the Egress. To me, the Avante is way better looking than the Egress, in my humble opinion, but that's not to say the Egress isn't a good looking car. I just don't think it's on par with the Avante, looks wise we're talking about. Although when you see it from that angle, yeah, it's not a bad looking thing, is it? But yeah, three amazing looking cars. So the Thundershot chassis. Now, it's important that I say from me off, this is a car that you've not seen yet. The restoration videos are coming soon, but this is a pretty hopped up Thundershot. It's basically, I've used the vintage hop ups from the Terra Scorcher. So it has a rear sway bar, it has the adjustable turnbuckles, fully ball raced, it has the front universal joints. So this is I think this is as good a spec Thundershot as you would actually ever get back in the day, which obviously allows me to sit it lower and adjust the camber on the wheels. But yeah, bathtub chassis, you know, pretty basic design very much more simple than the hotshot chassis. That was always a pain to work on and get into. Boomerang chassis was better than the hotshot chassis, and again, this is very similar to a boomerang, but I just feel that it's just better overall. Obviously the design and geometry of it or whatever, I just feel that straight out of the box this is just a way better car. And then the Avante, now obviously you only need to glance at that thing and you can see it's something rather special. So this is an original 88, so that's got the FRP chassis. The Avante had the large main chassis with the lower deck, which was really narrow. Quite completely different from anything else, and obviously all the metal parts on it, fully adjustable. The majority of the cars came with a Technigold motor, as we know. But yeah, engineering wise, an absolute thing of beauty, but just so different from, you know, looking at the bathtub style Thundershot chassis. And then the Egress, and it's gorgeous, isn't it? Full carbon, Now, the main thing, there's many differences from the Avante, but if you note, the chassis is absolutely reversed. The main chassis is on the bottom of the Egress with the narrow carbon top deck across the top, carbon steering. Now, this is a really not an original, but I was lucky enough to find the original turnbuckles for it, and we also got the I always get this wrong. Is it B8 and B9 lower mount shock metal brackets to get the correct angle on the front shocks? But yeah, just way more simpler than the Avante. Way less metal, better shocks though. Obviously, this was the high caps as opposed to the Avante shocks, which I don't know if they were any good, to be honest. But as we know, the high caps were pretty epic. But yeah, it's quite an evolution across the three chassis. And then to see them strung out like that, absolutely superb. Interestingly, as I just lined them up with the rear tyres, wheels in the same position, the Avante has got about an 8mm increase in wheelbase from the Thundershot, and I never realised that. I assumed it would just be the same. And of course, as the majority of you know, from the Vanquish and then to the Egress, the wheelbase was extended again, just for better geometry on the track. But yeah, not a bad looking trio, is it? So that's it, a very different style of video today, but I hope you enjoyed it. I know I can rattle on a lot, but I think it's important to come away from doing building and running videos and throw a few of these in every now and again. And as I said, it's just an appreciation video of that moment in time where we were lucky to be around, and obviously we didn't have all these cars, or I certainly didn't, but just that generation and grew up in the golden era of RC. It was a very special time, and it's never going to be seen again. We were really lucky. So yeah, so I'll end that video here, guys. So once again, thanks so much for watching, it's really appreciated. If you are new to this channel, if you could please consider liking and subscribing to support us, and if you do that, smash that notification buzzer for our weekly videos. And also, if you want to see any more videos this style, please stick it in the comments, because your feedback's mega important to me. So guys, happy RCing.